Hello everybody, welcome back. And today, let's talk reroutes, but now we're going to get specific with what we refer to as a anchor problem reroute. So what do I mean when I say that? ATC throws you on a heading, and now they want you to intercept, could be a jet airway, could be a Victor airway, could be part of an arrival, but they want you to intercept some segment that's not already in your flight plan. So we need to put that in. We need to put in that segment for the Airbus to specifically be able to intercept, all right? Let me throw up an example here and then we can talk about it. Let's say they said United 320, fly heading of 280 to intercept Jet 15 to Rattlesnake on course. Problem is Jet 15 is nowhere in our FMGC. Rattlesnake is, but they're giving us a different airway to get there. So the way I want you to think of it is two important fundamentals. Fundamental number one, I need to lay down this road, and when I lay down this road, it must cross the aircraft's nose. So if this is me over here on the 280 heading, and I know where Jet 15 comes from out of Rattlesnake, I've got to begin laying down the road sufficiently enough that once Jet 15 is in the box, that part that I've inserted crosses the current aircraft's nose so that I can intercept it. Why? Well, if I didn't do that, and let's say I was a little lower down here, and I haven't given it anything to specifically intercept on that heading, now I am effectively wandering in the wilderness, and she'll even give me a message saying no nav intercept, which is her way of saying you haven't given me a road that I can hop onto from this current heading. It's true, if we were to change our heading, now she might be happy and that message might silently go away because now she can do the nav intercept. All right, so when you're given this clearance, fly heading 280, intercept Jet 15 to Rattlesnake on course. When that happens for you, the first thing I do is I jump into JetFD Pro and I find Rattlesnake, because Rattlesnake is fixed over the Earth's crust. I know that's going to be a fixed point, and then I take a trip around the clock looking for a Jet 15 coming out of Rattlesnake. Once I've made that trip around the clock and say, okay, there's my Jet 15, then I want to project sufficiently down enough to where I ensure it's going to cross my current assigned heading, my current flight path, because then the Airbus will have a road to hop onto, and I'm not going to be wandering in the wilderness because I didn't sufficiently put it down for enough. In my example here, if I only put in pumps and I was down here on that 280, she would give me the no nav intercept because I didn't do it sufficiently. So when you think you put down that good first point to lay down a road that specifically crosses my nose, it's worth it for you to invest a second or two to look at the ND and say, okay, I think this will be my good anchor point. Why anchor point? Because that's the point from which we're going to anchor this whole problem and lay down the road with, right? I think that's a good anchor point. Look at your ND and verify it's a good anchor point. I see a lot of crews think they're putting in a good anchor, they're doing all this work, but they've never once checked the ND as to whether it is a good anchor. In other words, is it going to cross my nose? That's fundamental one. Put in a point that's going to lay down the airway that specifically crosses my nose. I need that to intercept onto and hop on that road, all right? So that's how we want to work it. And in this example here, you're like, well, geez, I don't know where I'm at. I might be, in between Curly and Tainer, or in between Tainer and Pumps. I'm not sure. So I'm going to be safe about this, and I'm going to ensure success by putting in Albuquerque. I recommend you do that. If in doubt, put it a little bit further back. It's true you may have to clear an extra point or two, but we're guaranteeing success by laying down road that distinctly crosses the aircraft's nose. So in this case here, I would put in the Albuquerque, and then I would go, after I've got the Albuquerque in the box, then I want to reselect Albuquerque, which will give me the next page, which will give me an airways prompt. So I want to select the airways. After I've done that, that'll bring up the airways page, and on one side it's going to say via, and then on the next side it's going to say to. Well, the only things you can ever put in the via column our airways. Could be Victor Airways, could be Jet Airways, could be whatever we're dealing with here. Only airways can go in the via column. You can never put an actual point like rattlesnake or anything into that. It's got to be airways on the left column. And then, of course, the right side where it says to, I would, in fact, put my rattlesnake. Now, since I did this relative to Albuquerque, she's going to then, if I go Jet 15 to rattlesnake, ask my partner if it looks good. They're going to reference what's in the box in the amber and then tell you if it looks good, and we would go ahead and insert it. Now, when you're doing this, recommended 3 left works all the time. 2 left can work when you're in heading, but nonetheless, if you notice, we're not starting at 1 left. Well, it's precisely because we may have some leftovers in 1 left and 2 left if you work with inserting Albuquerque and 3 left. It's because we have some of those leftovers that as you insert your proposed revision to comply with the ATC here, at first glance, that amber may look more like a pretzel than anything else. But I want you to have it clear in your head. We ain't afraid of no stinking pretzels. The pretzels are simply a reminder that we still have some cleaning up to do. I've had numerous crews do good work. Every step of what they're doing is good. But then when they look at the ND and they say, oh my gosh, my display looks like this, that can't possibly be right. And so they hit the erase button, but everything was correct. They didn't understand the fundamental that we ain't afraid of no stinking pretzels. The pretzels are a reminder we still have to clean things into position. We still got to get rid of the old 1 left and the 2 left maybe, and maybe the 3 left, as we'll see here in a moment. So the pretzel's just a reminder, okay, I'm not afraid of that. Everything I did may be correct, but it is telling me we do have some cleaning up to do, which is kind of leading us into step number 2. Okay, so step 1, got to lay down a road that distinctly crosses my nose, all right? Because then I'm not wandering in the wilderness. Step 2 is once I've laid down the road that's crossing my nose, the green line is handing you the answer for how your box must read. So what do I mean when I say that? When I say the green line is handing you the answer. In this example, I'm on a heading of 280, but on the ND, she's always giving me that wind-adjusted ground track line, the green line, so to speak, for however the wind is impacting us. Sometimes it'll be pretty much straight ahead, sometimes the wind will be blowing us one way or another. Doesn't matter, but after I've laid down that good road that crosses my nose, then I let the green line hand me the answer on a silver platter, because that's what she's doing. Wherever that intercept takes place, there's my silver platter. What do I mean when I say that? That intercept point is handing me how the box must read. And remember, the box is always a from to box. You might have present position in 1 left, but we are, in a very real way, from present position, or PPOS in 1 left, right? And then you're always going to have that 2 point, specifically speaking, in the vast majority, 99.9% of the time. So the box is always a from to box, and because that's how the Airbus box thinks, that's how we need to relate this reroute. So when I say the green line is handing you the answer, here's what I mean. On a heading 280, I'm going to hop on the road from Curly to Tainer on my way up to Rattlesnake. Well, I just said from and to, and that's how the box must read. She just handed you the answer for how you need to clear things in the box, clear your way to happiness, right? Move things into position for what you just said. Green line says, hopping on the road from Curly to Tainer specifically, then let's move Curly as the from, Tainer to the to. As soon as you've done that, and only until you've done that, then nav is available. But if I left it in the box as Albuquerque, Curly, Tainer, and I moved Albuquerque up to the top, so now Albuquerque is my from, and Curly is my to, that's not what the green line shows. Green line shows the intercept from Curly to Tainer. So if I just move Albuquerque to the top, then I had Curly, then I had Tainer, and I tried to push for nav, she would say no nav intercept. Why? Because the Airbus is looking at the green line to QA what you're doing. Well, I would submit to you, if the Airbus is looking at the green line to make this happen, then we should too. And when you understand this is rule number 2, the green line's handing you the answer for how your box must read, then the light bulb comes on for how to do these anchor reroutes so you can sequence things into the appropriate position. Then you can say nav is available, and it is. All right, so make sure you're solid on that. Once I've crossed my nose, all I care about is green line. What's the green line say? 1 is your from, 1 is your to, because we're going that way. So then I know curly is my from, Tainer is my to. Clear your way to happiness, move things into position to match the picture. Picture says from curly to Tainer on my ND. Box better say from curly to Tainer. As soon as it does, nav is available, bet you $1 million. But until it is, bet you nav is not available, bet you $1 million. So you want to understand that fundamental. So those are the 2 important fundamentals of anchor reroute problems. Got to cross my nose. Once it crosses my nose, green line's handing you the answer for how the box must read. Make the box read like the picture based off of the green line. Nav is available. Hopefully that helps you work these problems. These are the ones people have the most problems with when they're here in the training center. And hopefully that gives you some insights to how to logically work through it for success when you get your next one. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the future.